What's up, guys? It's MB Boxing, and today I'm going to be predicting the outcome of Murat Gassiev versus Otto Wallin, and this is going to be a 12-rounder in the heavyweight division, and this fight is going to be Saturday, September 30th from the Regnum Carya Hotel in Antalya, Turkey. Sorry if I pronounced that incorrectly. But yeah, like I said before, this fight's going to be Saturday, September 30th. From Turkey. I'm not really too sure where this fight is going to be broadcasted on. But to get into both fighters' resumes, Murat Gassiev, fighting out of Russia and Armenia, holds a record of 30 wins, 1 loss, with 23 wins coming by way of knockout. Currently at heavyweight, BoxRec has him ranked number 15 in the world. I think he should be lower than that. I definitely don't think he's a top 15 competitor. But at cruiserweight, he was the former WBA Unified and IBF world champion and made it to the final of the World Boxing Super Series, and that gets into his one lone defeat. It came in that Super Series final when he fought Alexander Usyk in 2019, losing by a wide and dominant unanimous decision, a shutout unanimous decision to Usyk, and that was for the undisputed Cruiserweight Championship and for that World Boxing Super Series tournament trophy. But to get into some of his best victories at heavyweight, I'm just going to go through his wins at heavyweight. I mean, he's beaten Michael Valish by TKO in the 4th, defeated Carlos Welch by KO in the 1st, defeated Mike Balogun. That's probably his best win at heavyweight, defeating Balogun by KO in the 2nd round. But that was sort of a fishy fight because Gassiev lost the 1st round clearly, and then the 2nd round just all of a sudden one punch that was like mostly blocked by Balogun just sent Balogun down, and Balogun was just almost out on the canvas, and he was smiling after the fight. Many people think that fight was a fixed fight and think that Balogun dived. I'm not saying my opinion about it, but it's definitely a little suspicious. But I mean, when it comes to Gassiev at cruiserweight, he's beaten the likes of Denis Lebedev, Krzysztof Wlodarczyk, and Uniel Dordikos, which is why he was the number 2 guy at cruiserweight besides Usyk at the time. But really, Gassiev hasn't really beaten a real fighter since defeating Uniel Dordikos in 2018. So it's really been 5 years since Gassiev has fought a real fighter that's in there trying to win. And Otto Wallin is definitely going to be in there trying to get that victory. But to get into his opponent's resume, Otto Wallin, fighting out of Sweden, holds a record of 25 wins, 1 loss, with 14 wins coming by way of knockout. He is currently ranked number 30 by BoxRec in the heavyweight division. And to get into his resume, his one lone defeat came in a fairly impressive fight. Obviously, it was a defeat, but he did fairly well against the current number 1 ranked heavyweight Tyson Fury, where he cut Fury pretty bad. And if it wasn't Tyson Fury, that fight would have probably been stopped because of how bad Fury's cut was, and how much of an underdog Wallin was going into that fight. But to list some of his best victories, he has some decent level wins, not really anything too crazy. He's defeated Travis Kaufman by TKO in the 5th. He's defeated Dominic Breazeale by a pretty wide and clear unanimous decision. He's also defeated Kamil Sokolowski, Rydell Booker, and in his last fight defeated Helaman Olgin. So in my opinion, I'm a big fan of this fight. I'm going to be 100% honest. I always love these heavyweight scraps between these like European fighters or just any fighter that's around top 20, top 25 in the heavyweight division, because they're good fights to determine who could possibly rise up in a sanctioning body's rankings and fight for a title. Like both these guys are ranked pretty highly by the IBF, I'm pretty sure, and I believe they're ranked also in other sanctioning bodies. So, I mean, the winner of this fight could rise up in the rankings, even on BoxRec as well, and just go on the radar, because if either man beats, like depending on who wins no matter what, it's still a very, very good win for both these guys. There's a WBA Intercontinental title on the line as well for this fight, so they could definitely rise up in the WBA ranks as well. So yeah, like I said before, I'm very interested in this fight. I hope I could find a stream of where I could watch it, or just figure out where it's being broadcasted, because I'm really, really interested in this fight. And if you made it this far in the video, comment down below your prediction on this one. And just to dive into my prediction, my thoughts on who I think is going to win, I'm pretty sure that Murat Gassiev is a favorite in this fight, I would assume, considering he's just, I would say, the bigger name as the former unified champ at cruiserweight. But I mean, I'm going to be honest, I really think Otto Wallin should win this fight most definitely. I mean, when you look at the style matchup and when you look at who Gassiev's fought in these past few years, it's just no match. Otto Wallin's a very, very good fighter. He's a southpaw, 6'5" tall. He has a slight height advantage, I believe so, over Murat Gassiev, who's like 6'3" about. Otto Wallin's a very, very solid fighter. Although he lacks power a little bit, I mean, he's a pretty big guy, and he's able to move around the ring decently. He never really goes for the knockout. In his fights, it's really always him boxing, just trying to land good shots, not really trying to go for that stoppage at all in his fights. He's just a very good base-level boxer, has a good 1-2. Not really anything too crazy, but I really think he's going to give Murat Gassiev a very tough time in there. Gassiev, in his last fight against Mike Balogun, although Balogun got knocked out in 2, the first round, you have to watch that fight. I did post the full fight on my channel, so I'd appreciate it if you guys go check that one out. But in that fight, Balogun was just sort of at range, throwing 1-2s, and Gassiev was just plodding forward, not really doing anything, just getting pattered with 1-2s. And Gassiev was just, like I said before, just standing there, taking the shots, not really doing much. But when it comes to Wallin, Wallin's a bigger guy than Balogun, has longer arms, and I think throughout the entire night, he'll be able to just pepper Gassiev with good 1-2s. Obviously, Wallin doesn't move like Alexander Usyk, like with the head movement, the footwork, but he's got the size and the length of his arms as well, really that could prevail in this fight, and I really think he's going to win this one. I really think Wallin's going to get a very, very good win here, which could possibly set him up for maybe even a world title shot or a world title eliminator fight in the near future. So just to break this fight down round by round, I think that the earlier rounds will go in favor of Otto Wallin. Obviously, Gassiev hits really, really hard. He could land a huge shot on Wallin and hurt him, maybe knock him out. It's heavyweights. You never know what's going to happen. But I really think the earlier rounds, Gassiev's going to have trouble easing into the fight a bit because obviously the last time he had a real fight that went the full or that almost went the distance, went almost the full 12 and was a real dogfight. That's when he fought Yuniel Dorticos, and he was 199 pounds going into that one. Now at heavyweight, his last fight, he weighed in at almost 240 pounds. So I really think that he's going to have trouble moving around in there, really trying to get in, cut off the ring on Wallin. But I think that throughout, Wallin's going to be the one landing the better shots. And I think in the earlier rounds, Wallin could be up 30-27 or 29-28. And we even saw when Michael Walisch, who is a known journeyman with not a good chin, fought Gassiev. He was able to win a couple of the rounds early before getting stopped in the fourth against Gassiev. And obviously we know Walisch, it's not like saying, oh, if Wallin's going to win the early rounds, he could get knocked out. Yes, he could, but Walisch was a fighter that's known for not being good at all and for having a terrible chin. And Walisch was able to have success early along with Mike Balogun in the first round. So I think that Otto Wallin's going to do very, very well in the early part of this fight. And I think he could be up after like the first 3 to 4 rounds, 30-27, could be 40-36, 39-37. But yeah, I really think that Murat Gassiev is going to have trouble in those earlier rounds just catching up with Wallin and his 1-2s on the outside. If the ring's small, it's obviously going to favor Murat Gassiev heavily. But yeah, if it's a very small ring, and you got to remember this fight's in Turkey. I know Gassiev isn't from Turkey, but it's more, I would say it's definitely more of Gassiev's home turf. He's listed, obviously, as nationality on BoxRec from Armenia. Armenia is pretty close to Turkey, I would say. So I'm pretty sure it's his home turf, and he should have more of his fans there for the fight as opposed to fans from Sweden for Wallin. But yeah, when it comes to as the rounds go on, I obviously think that Gassiev will have more success as the rounds go on. But I think in the first half of this fight, like the first 6 rounds, I think Gassiev could be down pretty sizably on the judges' scorecards, 59-55, something like that, I would say, maybe 58-56. But really, throughout this entire fight, I don't think it's going to be a change of styles or anything. I think throughout, Wallin's going to be the one on the outside or at mid-range, and Gassiev's going to be the one trying to come forward, trying to cut off the ring, and trying to throw that big right hand that he has. So as the rounds go on, like I said, I think that Otto Wallin will land some good shots on Gassiev. And Gassiev, I just think, will be a bit too slow with his feet. And I think that Wallin will just be picking him and tattooing him with shots as the rounds go on. And then when it comes to the second half of this fight, this is the part where Gassiev could start to gain some momentum. We obviously saw when Dominic Breazeale fought Otto Wallin, he was able to land some good shots on Wallin in those later rounds and was able to pick up almost like 2 to 4 rounds in the last section of the fight to make it a much closer fight as opposed to the earlier rounds where he was getting dominated in. So in this fight, we could see the same. We could see Wallin's legs start to tire out, and we even saw that against Tyson Fury, where the first half was sort of competitive, sort of close. Then the later rounds, Fury just dominated Wallin and just won easily. So I think in this fight, after 8 rounds, I think we could see Otto Wallin up 78-74. Could be even 79-73, but since it's in Turkey, it could even be 77-75. But I think from the fans' perspective, it will be pretty clear that Wallin's the one up on the judges' scorecards going into those later rounds. But then when I think those later rounds roll around, I think Gassiev will, obviously, as I mentioned before, have more success. I think he'll be able to cut off the ring a bit better. I think Wallin will start to slow down a bit, and I think that Gassiev could start to land his big power shots a bit more and pick up maybe 3 or 2 out of those 4 last rounds from like 9, 10, 11, and 12. So yeah, I think this fight's going to go the distance, in my opinion. Comment down below if you think so as well. But in the end, I think the judges, I'm hoping that they get this one right. I know, as I mentioned before, it's in Turkey. They could have it more swayed in Gassiev's favor. But I think that the judges will score this bout, or they should score this bout, somewhere around like 117, 111, 116, 112. Like I said before, if it's like a corrupt scoring or anything based off of how suspicious Gassiev's last couple of fights have been, they could have it like 115, 113, 114, 114, a draw, or in Gassiev's favor. But really, I think this fight is going to be a true 116, 112, 117, 111 fight for Wallin, and I think Wallin should get the decision victory in this one. I would say unanimous, but you never know with the judges. But yeah, my pick would probably be Wallin by decision, 9-3, 8-4 type fight. So if you made it this far in the video, I'd really appreciate it if you guys could go hit the subscribe button, hit the like button as well, and leave a comment on your thoughts on this fight. So overall, I believe that Otto Wallin will defeat Murat Gassiev and get the best victory of his career, as I think he will win this fight by unanimous decision, somewhere between 116, 112, and 117, 111. And yeah, that's really it. I'm MB Boxing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.